Hello, and welcome to the What's Your Ethos podcast, where we interview leaders from insurance carriers, distributors, and insurtechs, tackling some of the thorniest issues in the industry. Hi, I'm Peter Colas, the CEO of Ethos. Today we have with us Deanna Mulligan. Deanna is the CEO of Purposeful and is the former chairman and CEO of the Guardian Life Insurance Company. She is a Fortune 250 CEO, and she's now a trustee, board director, entrepreneur, and best-selling author. She serves on big boards like Vanguard, DuPont, Guild Education, and I've gotten to know her over her time as a board member at Ethos. She's a 5-time member of Fortune's Most Powerful Women's list. Deanna, I'm so glad that we could do this. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Peter. I'm really excited to be here.
So you started your career in consulting and then transitioned to life insurance. What inspired you to focus on our industry?
Well, I think at the end of the day, life insurance is about helping people. And I've always found the mission of our industry to be very inspirational. And obviously, I think we've all known people who either had life insurance and it helped them a lot, or didn't have life insurance and wish they had. So I find, and I still find, daily inspiration in what we all do.
Makes sense. So before we jump into your incredible career within the life insurance industry and how you led a huge transformation at Guardian and achieved a lot, I wanted to ask you about the book that you wrote. You're a best-selling author. You wrote Higher Purpose about the effects of automation and why the private sector needs to lead the charge in shaping a values-based response for employees and the effects of automation. Can you tell us briefly how business leaders can prepare for this, especially when you think about the topical nature of generative AI and how entire categories of employees could be at risk from this?
Well, I think that, first of all, CEOs and others in the company need to be honest about what's happening. And there are large groups of people within companies that will need to retrain and potentially move to jobs or careers outside the company and who knows, maybe even outside the industry. But the best way to prepare people for that is education. And there is no easier and better way for people to be educated than in their own company. And we did a lot of that at Guardian, and it's not hard and it's not even expensive, and it pays off in spades in terms of productivity and loyalty and employee happiness, as well as just having the right skills at the right time. And it's only accelerating. The need to do internal training has accelerated dramatically in the last few years since the book came out.
That makes sense. Was there one event or moment in your career that really shaped your perspective on why this needed to be a priority for you at Guardian and then led you to be so motivated about it that you wrote a best-selling novel about it?
Well, early in my CEO career, Superstorm Sandy hit New York City, and we had a 5-foot wall of water wash through our building. And because of some of the damage that was done to wires and cables and so on in the street in front of our building, we were not able to re-enter our building for 9 months. So it was a very, wake-up call situation in terms of technology and being able to work remotely. So now we all take it for granted, but, this was over 10 years ago. It wasn't so easy. And I found that I didn't have what I thought I had in terms of a backup plan, or I think even backup systems. And we were sort of flying a little bit blind, but we made everything work. And it was largely due to our people. Our people were the heroes. They thought of solutions, even though they were stuck in their home. Sometimes some of them didn't have electricity. Then, if you recall, there was a gas shortage because some of the gas ships couldn't make it into the harbor, couldn't pump the gas. It was one thing after another. And through it all, people did things like riding their bicycle to Starbucks when their cars ran out of gas and they needed to charge their cell phones to pull everything together. And so it showed me what a highly motivated workforce can do. And this was with no training. This was all kind of seat of the pants. So I thought, what if we can really tap into that innovation and that desire to do the right thing by providing even more skills-based training? So that was sort of the beginning of the book. Of course, I wrote it while I was CEO of Guardian, and even though I had a lot of help, it took several years.
It's incredible to think about how the scary and tragic events of Sandy helped prepare both your organization and you as a leader for COVID in a, difficult to predict way. It probably didn't feel like a blessing at the time, but all that preparation and effort paid a lot of dividends in the future.
Yeah. One of the things that I said coming out of Sandy was we are going to be location independent. And again, in 2013, being location independent wasn't, as common as it is now. And when COVID hit, we were ready. We made the decision that in a few days we were going to go 100% remote, and we did. And we went about a week before New York City and state were officially closed down. We were already closed down and didn't really miss a beat. So we were prepared the second time around. I came in with a hurricane and I went out with a pandemic.
Man, I just think about how many life insurance carriers were in a really difficult spot when COVID came, as far as on-prem systems, employees with desktops, not laptops. And I'm excited to get into all the tech transformation work that you led while at Guardian and hit on some of that. If we just step back, most of our listeners of this podcast are employees at life insurance carriers or major distributors. And so most people know you from your work as the CEO of Guardian, the former CEO of Guardian. Can you tell us generally about Guardian? What is the product focus? What is the agent strategy, whether it's captive or independent or both, whether it's individual or group? Where does the company kind of focus its efforts?
Well, Guardian is a life insurance company, and life insurance is a major product, as is annuities. And then Guardian has a very big group division. People used to come up to me all the time and say, "Oh, I have Guardian Dental." So many small businesses, as well as many professional services firms, have Guardian dental insurance, but Guardian also offers a number of other group insurance products. And, Guardian is an old mutual company. It's 160 plus years old. And interestingly, the founder and the words of the founder still kind of loom large at Guardian. And, we do the right thing. People count. We hold ourselves to a very high standard. All kind of came directly from the early days of Guardian, when the founder founded the company with twice the required capital back in the 1860s, because he wanted to make sure the life insurance company was strong. And his saying was always, a life insurance company should live forever. Meaning, if you're selling promises that are going to be cashed in 50, 60 years in the future, and as long as you continue to do that, you need to be prepared to pay them off. So those sayings still resonate with people at Guardian.
Makes sense. So while you were CEO, in addition to managing the company to its growth and profitability targets, and through all the various things that come across your plate, you decided to embark on a massive tech transformation effort. And it's not something necessarily that would have benefited the company and your results while you were still in the building, but it would pay, and maybe it did, but it would also just pay immense dividends ongoing into the future of the company and set up whoever comes after you for success. I'm curious, how did you think about prioritizing this? What led to you to go through all of the pain and suffering of, doing what you did? Can you describe what you did, and just give us some color for all the team members at carriers that are probably dreading or thinking about this, or, scoping out what they might do in the future and what their legacy issues are. So.
Well, first of all, I didn't do it by myself. And there was a huge team of people, and really the whole organization got involved. And it basically stemmed from Hurricane Sandy when we lost our phone system in the home office, right? We didn't have VoIP. We had an old, phone system, and when the water came through, it took it away. We didn't even have good lists of employee cell phones at the time, and we had to track down people's cell phones. Fortunately, everybody had a laptop, and they took it home, and that was, a savior. We had a data center for our broker-dealer that was in the building, so we had to move the data center on the fly. And I said, we can't live like this. We need to be location independent. So that started a program that didn't finish while I was there. And I think you're never really done. But we moved to a more cloud-first architecture. We were one of the first major insurance companies to go into the cloud. And it was quite a controversial decision at the time. We had to spend a lot of time on security issues and thinking it through with our board because it wasn't as obvious the decision as it is today. So we also remediated data center issues. We did a lot of training on new ways of doing development. And we put together a data lake, and it took a long time to clean all of the data. And it was an expensive process. And not everybody was convinced that it was going to be worthwhile. But all of those things together really helped us when the pandemic came. For example, we were ready. And we had a practice day where we went home a day early. We called it National Work From Home Practice Day. And everybody went home, plugged in, everything worked. We said, okay, now stay home. And the people didn't come back. So I think that everything that happened during Sandy, every issue, every problem we had, led us to be a little bit on the forefront in terms of the next round of architecture and what it was going to look like.
Fascinating. Yeah, I remember you once shared with me an anecdote about how there were like 12 different definitions of a premium within all your various disparate systems, and trying to merge them all into one column of data in a table. People don't think about all the myriad of issues when it comes to migrating systems, like a life insurance carrier's admin systems. So,
yeah, I don't remember the exact number, but there were many different definitions for common words because the systems had been put together probably over 50 years. Different systems, different upgrade. And, we still had policies on the books at the time from the 1920s and 30s and 40s. And so getting that right is really important to customers. So we took a long time with this to make sure it was correct.
Makes sense. So when you think about your tenure at Guardian, obviously both Sandy and COVID were major, things to work through as a leader. Were there any other big obstacles that you had to process through and overcome?
Well, I think in every CEO's career, there are always, obstacles, and you could call them obstacles, or you can just think of them as part of doing business, right? I mean, the reason you're the CEO is to solve big problems. I used to say, if anybody else in the company can solve this problem without me, they should, right? The only thing that should come to my desk are things that nobody else can handle. Otherwise, why would you have a CEO, right? And that's actually the best way to make use of my time. So I preferred not to think of it as, oh, here's another big problem to solve, but this is why I'm here.
Makes sense. When you think about 10 years into the future, how do you imagine that our industry is going to change? There's a lot of interesting technology that's coming out. I feel like the industry has made quite a bit of progress in the last 10 years. There's probably a lot more to come, but how do you envision things are going to change for policyholders, for agents and advisors, for carriers, for underwriters, when you look into your crystal ball?
I think for policyholders and for agents, life is going to just continue to be easier because already with technology, I was just online this morning making some adjustment to one of my policies, and I was thinking, this is so much easier than it was, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I think you're going to continue to see that trend toward ease of service. And for agents, I think you're going to see continued streamlining by the carriers and trying to use technology to make it easier for distributors and agents to do business with carriers and with the home office. I think inside the home office, jobs are going to change, right? We're already seeing the impact of AI and things like underwriting and in call centers. You're seeing bots do a lot of things in IT departments. You're seeing a lot of, coding that can be done with AI. And I think those trends are all going to accelerate. And, without doing things in the cloud, this cloud native software option, there's going to be a whole new world of development. I don't know that you can change every legacy system into a cloud native system, but you can certainly start doing new things and new products in a cloud native way. And, time is going to be just on a different scale. Instead of taking, 18 months to do a new product, you can do it in weeks, literally.
Right.
So I think that's going to change a lot of things in ways that we don't even know yet.
And when you think about, all the kind of planes of innovation that are possible, whether it's technology enhancing the user experience for, clients or advisors or underwriters, and you think about, innovations in potential product design, both in more flavors of investment feature policies, but also just accessing different parts of the market. You can think about innovations in risk management and balance sheet management. Where do you feel like the industry isn't innovating fast enough, or where you've been frustrated in seeing like, hey, I feel like this should be much better by this point?
Well, I think in the last 1 to 2 years, we're seeing a lot of innovation on the policy admin side, for example, as I just said. I think you're beginning to see it in terms of user experience. I think there's a little way to go yet, but user experience is definitely getting better. I would hope that agent experience, the distributor experience is getting better. That may not be getting better as fast as they would like or as fast as we would like, but I think it's in key more of that on the future.
Makes sense. Is there anything in product design that you feel like we're not making enough progress in?
I think product design will continue to evolve, but it is going to evolve slower than some of the other areas of technology, in part because we have to work with our regulators and help them understand what we're doing, and that, may, for good reason, take a little longer than some of the things that are totally under our control.
Makes sense. Accessibility to insurance is, something of a concern, and it's something that you're passionate about. How do you envision the industry addressing the issue of reaching more and more underserved markets and then creating more points of access for people who have limited means, who aren't potentially naturally in front of an advisor to begin with, who aren't maybe as proactive about thinking about the need of life insurance or weighing, the cost of it against other important expenses in their life?
Well, I think technology is going to make insurance a lot more accessible to wider groups of people. And obviously, this is one thing that Ethos has been great at doing. And it's one of the reasons that I'm so excited to be affiliated with Ethos, because it's making insurance available to people who might not ordinarily be visited by an agent. We know the country is underinsured by a lot. We know the middle class is underinsured by a lot. And we know we don't have enough agents. And we also know that our agent population is aging. So I think there's a huge opportunity for technology to help make products available more quickly, to make more simple products available, and hopefully can make them available at a lower cost.
It's interesting. I feel like before I got into the industry, I never realized what the average kind of uh, duration of a new agent's career is, and how a lot of people who enter the practice don't necessarily make it as a successful career because it's hard to offer life insurance to clients and help them think about this as the most important thing to spend their money on. But I realized there was a huge opportunity in using ease of process to allow them to spend more and more time selling and lessen, and basically have a better chance at being successful in their career of offering life insurance, which I think is a really noble purpose. So
I agree. Taking out a lot of the paperwork and the drudgery is key to giving people more time to spend with their client and more time working on their own business and their own development and their own growth and industry.
Makes sense. So, you're the former CEO of a Fortune 250 company, and you're one of 7 female CEOs, or you were one of 7 female CEOs in the U.S. insurance sector. Can you offer us some leadership insights and, advice for young people who wanted to succeed in this industry? Any advice specifically for younger women who want to succeed in this industry and really become, significant leaders at life insurance companies?
I think insurance is a great career for everyone. And of course, I think it's a great career for women. And historically, we have not had enough women entering the insurance career, either as salespeople or as executives. And of course, that's changing. I think if you want to be an insurance executive, if you want to work for a carrier, always math is a great background, actuarial science, computer science. But it's not all hard science. There's also a lot of opportunity, communications and marketing. And so I think thinking through from the very beginning, what is it that I can study that's going to help me in that career? And then sales is a fabulous career for women because women end up holding a lot of the money. I mean, sadly, it's true that men die sooner than women, and there are a lot of women out there who need advice. And not that women can sell only to women, because I think women can sell to everybody, but there's just a huge need, and we're not quite at 50-50 yet in terms of male and female salespeople. So I think it's a great career. I think more people should explore it, men and women. I think insurance isn't really talked about enough as a major in most colleges, or it's not a major and it's not really talked about enough as a career. But as you and I both know, it can be a fabulous career, and it's an opportunity to help people in really fundamental ways.
It would have been a fun major. It would have been more fun than philosophy.
That.
So, as a major exec and then a CEO of a major, Fortune 250 company, what are the 3 most important things that you focus on every day as a leader?
Well, I always thought the CEO's job is to bring the outside inside. So to really understand what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the investment state, what's happening in the regulatory environment, and even just in terms of social trends that impact things like people's health, underwriting standard, regulatory standard, people's desire for certain types of career. So to try to take everything that's going on externally and find ways to change that into, okay, what does that mean in terms of our strategy? And how can we inject people's day-to-day lives at work, which are often focused on very technical details or sometimes on certain very specific tasks? How can we inject everything that's going on the outside into, and here's where we're going in the future, and here's what we are all going to need to do differently to get there. So that was one of my big jobs at Guardian, and I think the book could have came out of that in terms of technology is really going to change how we do everything. We want to be a leader in that, but we also want to be thoughtful on how much change our people can adapt to and how quickly they adapt to it. We want to help them adapt.
That makes sense. So, a big part of your role as well is how do you grow and nurture an incredible team? How do you retain them? Any advice for the leaders who are listening in on how you attract and retain some of the best people in the industry?
I think people have a lot of opportunities, and I think it's very true that they work for people, not companies. And one of the things that everybody wants is to be listened to. And I always found it incredibly helpful to spend one-on-one time with my people. Besides, I'm not sure how helpful they found it or how excited they were about it. But I had a rule that we have to spend time one-on-one. All my direct reports had to spend one-on-one time with me every week. And I like to listen to them, to what's on their mind, not just at work, but just in demo. And I think you can't over-communicate as a CEO. You also can't over-listen.
It's funny. I was recently listening to Jensen Huang from NVIDIA speak, and he said that, he's got 70 direct reports and he does no one-on-ones. And it clearly works for him, but I get a lot of value out of one-on-ones. I feel like our team does as well. And I can't imagine operating without them. But to each their own. So, Deanna, let's get to know you personally. A few questions. You are a passionate equestrian. How has that been an important part of your life?
Well, I always say when you're on a horse, you can't think about anything else. If you do, you'll probably end up on the ground. You won't stay on the horse very long. So I found it incredibly restorative. It's a little bit like meditation, and I think it helped me at times with my creativity to just have sort of a blank mind for that hour that I was on the horse.
Awesome. And what's your favorite place to vacation?
I like the Rhode Island seashore. I should be there now, but I'm not, unfortunately. And I like Maui. I like the beach in Hawaii. And, let's just say too numerous to mention.
Nice. What is the last topic or subject that you went really deep on learning about that didn't have anything to do with workplace automation or insurance?
I collect in a pure type of French China that sometimes when I need to do something mindless, I search on the internet for. I would say it's a bit of a rabbit hole.
Very cool. Well, Deanna, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I'm sure our listeners got a lot of value out of this. Thank you for taking the time with us today. It's been interesting getting to learn about your career and about what you're doing after your time in the life insurance industry as well. So we appreciate you as a board member of Ethos, and thanks for taking the time. So,
thank you, Peter. It's great to talk with you.
Okay, everybody, until next time, take care and have a great day. Thanks so much for joining me for this episode of What's Your Ethos? If you're interested in helping to protect the next million families, come join us. You can learn more about Ethos at ethoslife.com. I'll see you next time.